something extraordinary just happened north of the border. This is Montreal, Quebec, one of the great cosmopolitan cities of North America. And just days back, in response to the outrage among Quebec citizens over scenes just like this, the government of Quebec did something that almost no Western government has had the nerve to do. They looked at the sight of Muslims blocking streets and sidewalks for public prayer right in front of the Notre Dame Basilica, and they said, not here, not anymore. And what they did next sent shockwaves far beyond the borders of Quebec. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, here to help you make sense of the madness with breaking news and analysis you're not going to get anywhere else. So make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Let's start with what actually happened. Now, for the past several years, a group called Montreal for Palestine has been gathering outside Notre Dame Basilica, one of the most historic, iconic Catholic churches on the continent, and conducting organized public prayers in the streets, not quiet, private devotion, organized, amplified, in the road, blocking the public way. Again, often right in front of Quebec's Catholic Church. And Quebec Premier François Legault watched it happen, and he said publicly, this is not going to be happening anymore in Quebec. We're not doing this, and we're certainly not going to stand by and let you continue to do this. And to his credit, it turns out he meant it, because just days ago, on April 2nd, his government made it the law. Bill 9, formerly titled An Act Respecting the Reinforcement of Laïcité in Quebec, is now the law of the land in Canada's most culturally assertive province. And here's what it does. Number one, no group prayer on any public road, park, or public space without explicit, case-by-case municipal approval by resolution. Number two, designated prayer rooms in universities, in Quebec's public community colleges, they're all now banned. Number three, daycare workers at subsidized centers are now prohibited from wearing religious symbols, particularly the hijab. Number four, full face coverings are banned for staff and students in daycares, public colleges, and universities. And number five, public hospitals cannot exclusively offer religiously prescribed meals such as halal, kosher, or otherwise. And number six, private religious schools that want public funding have 3 years to stop selecting students and staff based on religion or lose every dollar of public money. This is a comprehensive, sweeping, unapologetic defense of what is known as laïcité, the secular public square. Now, what is so fascinating here is that across the Atlantic, in France itself, Marine Le Pen has an entire apologetic on how the unique form of French secularism, known as laïcité, is actually dependent on Christianity and Christian civilization. Le Pen argues that Christianity provides the church-state distinction upon which laïcité is grounded. And if you get rid of an overt commitment to the supremacy of Christianity in your land and in their hearts, the French will lose their nation to a religion that knows no such sacred state distinction like Islam. So this ban on public prayer and public expressions of religiosity in Quebec is seen by many as an extension of precisely this kind of distinctively Christian crackdown on Islam. It's not a crackdown on Christianity. Again, in this French sense of laïcité, it's actually an extension of Christianity, a distinctively French civilizational Christianity. In fact, Quebec lawmakers preemptively shielded the law from challenge under Canada's Charter of Rights and Freedoms. So they didn't just pass the law, they armor-plated it. They made it resilient against court challenges. So again, They're very serious about this. In fact, Quebec's nationalist government is deliberately standing against the liberal government in Ottawa, as well as the more, globalist liberal governments in Western Europe. And they're pushing back against the liberal norms that allowed for Islamic law to operate in what we might call parallel societies within Western society. So for decades, we've been told that any concerns about parallel Islamic societies inside the West, it was just Islamophobia, it's racist, bigoted xenophobia, and the like. And Quebec officials recognized that while liberal governments were saying this, organized Muslim groups were beginning to more and more use public space, public institutions, and public funding to carve out parallel Islamic social structures in the heart of Western cities. Prayer rooms in every university, street closures for Friday prayers, halal-only menus in public hospitals, incrementally, quietly, deliberately. And Quebec looked at where that road led, and they chose a different one. And I'm going to show you exactly why. But first, let me ask you, are you working just as hard as you always have, maybe even harder, but you feel like you're constantly falling behind? You look at your grocery bill, your gas receipts, and your savings account, and you realize that no matter how much you make, the rising cost of everything just keeps eating it away. I mean, you're doing everything right, yet you're wondering, how am I ever going to get ahead? Well, here's the problem. The elites have designed it this way. They've created an economic system where inflation silently steals your wealth while they get richer. It's a treadmill that keeps you running faster just to stay in the same place, leaving you exhausted, frustrated, and anxious about your family's future. But what if you could step off their treadmill and build your own system? What if there was a way to build financial security for your family that doesn't require employees or customers or inventory or taking on a grueling second job? What if you could do it in just minutes a day or even minutes per week from anywhere you choose? Now, I know some of you might be thinking, Dr. Steve, that sounds way too good to be true. And I get it. I used to be just as skeptical about this stuff too, until I saw the proof with my own eyes. I realized that we've been conditioned to think that building wealth has to mean trading away all of our time. But here's what I've learned. Trading is actually the best business in the world when you do it the right way. And before you start thinking, wait, trading, it's too complicated and risky. Well, let me tell you, my good friend, Troy Noonan, the backpack trader, he spent 30 years perfecting a step-by-step approach that makes this accessible to everyday people like you and me. And I know it works because I'm actually a member of his program. Here's what makes Troy's approach different. He'll show you how to prove the system works for you before you risk a single penny of your hard-earned money in the markets. It's like a flight simulator, right? You get to see the results first before you risk a penny in the markets. It's amazing stuff. So if you're ready to see how this can play a massive role in not just protecting your wealth, but actively creating new wealth, giving you a real pathway to the bright, beautiful future and peace of mind your family deserves, go to backpacktrader.com/TurleyFreedom right now. Troy is hosting a special free live training called Backpack Trader Live exclusively for our community. It's on April 15th at 7 p.m. Eastern. And when you register, he'll instantly send you his 12 Powers to Successful Trading ebook packed with concepts no one else teaches, the ingredients that lead to successful trading. And when you show up to the training, you'll unlock an exclusive bonus you simply can't get anywhere else. The private replay of our Turley Roundtable. This was a rare closed-door event where Troy, myself, and real backpack trader patriots all sat down together. We took raw, unfiltered questions from guests, which sparked an incredibly enlightening discussion about exactly how everyday people are using the system to build real wealth and total freedom. It's an absolute masterclass, and hearing these insights will completely change how you look at your financial future. But the only way to get your hands on this powerful replay is by showing up to the Backpack Trader live training. This is your chance to stop being a victim of their economic system and start building your own. Go to backpacktrader.com/turleyfreedom right now and reserve your spot for April 15th. That's backpacktrader.com/turleyfreedom. Your bright, beautiful future is waiting. Let's go get it. To understand what Quebec just did, you've got to understand what Quebec has become over the last decade, because this didn't come out of nowhere. In 2018, Quebec voters shattered a 50-year, get that, 50-year political duopoly and handed a sweeping majority to a brand new right-of-center party known as the Coalition Avenir Quebec, or the CAQ, led by Premier François Legault. Now, the old establishment parties, so it's the Federalist Liberals and the separatist Parti Québécois, had both dominated Quebec politics. I mean, decades, generations. The CAQ replaced both of them. And it did it by offering something neither of the old parties had: a muscular, unapologetic cultural nationalism, not focused on independence per se, but on defending Quebec's identity, language, and way of life from the inside. Now, the CAQ's first major act was Bill 21 of 2019, the secularism law that banned government employees in positions of authority from wearing religious symbols on the job: teachers, police officers, judges. Now, they defended it by saying it included, all religions, including crosses as well as hijabs. But obviously everyone knew you could still wear a cross, right? You just couldn't wear it like overtly, prominently outside of your clothing, but you could still wear it. Whereas the hijab, by definition, was overt. It was prominent. So the hijab was in effect banned, while a crucifix, right, on a chain wasn't. So the political left flipped out. They screamed Islamophobia, but their premier, Legault, he said, too bad. We're doing this. Quebec is not going to be having hijabs in public places. Then came Bill 96 in 2022. It was a sweeping overhaul of Quebec's language laws, dramatically strengthening the primacy of French in the workplace, in commerce, and in public life. Again, it passed overwhelmingly. And now Bill 9, banning unauthorized public prayer, closing campus prayer rooms, extending secularism, the laïcité requirements into daycare centers. So do you see the pattern? Every 2 years or so, Quebec ratchets the same mechanism tighter: language, secularism, public space, always over the protests of left-wing civil liberties establishment, and always overwhelmingly with the support of Quebec voters. So what's driving this? Well, simple. Quebecers, right, a French-speaking Catholic civilization surrounded by 300 million English-speaking North Americans, they have always understood viscerally what cultural replacement looks like, right? They lived through it with English. They're not going to live through it again with anything else. Quebec is not becoming nationalist. Quebec has always been nationalist. What's changing is that they finally have a government with the spine to act like it. And now, increasingly, with this nationalist turn, there are once again talks, what do you know, about seceding from Canada. In Quebec, support for sovereignty among young people has skyrocketed to 56% among 18 to 34-year-olds, the highest since the 1995 referendum, when the no side barely won by half a percentage point. It's not just Alberta that's considering separating from Ottawa. Quebec nationalism is surging, and that surge is now fostering a return to secessionist sentiments, which will in all probability lead inevitably to another independence referendum in the not-so-distant future. So all of this is to say that this ban on public, primarily Islamic prayer, is just par for the course in the increasing nationalist turn among Western nations, which means that the ban we're seeing in Quebec is just the beginning.